It was a tragedy unparalleled on Australian roads. Just before dawn, the heavily laden semi collided head-on with the coach on a straight stretch just north of Grafton. With air transport crippled by the pilot's dispute, the coach was full. Of the 42 passengers on board, many were children and overseas tourists, including 10 Britons thought to be from the same family. Only one has survived. The impact sent the coach into a deadly tumble, rolling 3 times before coming to rest. When rescuers arrived, they found those lucky enough to have survived dazed and wandering through the scene of the tragedy. Emergency crews worked for hours to free passengers still trapped, but the extent of the carnage quickly became shockingly apparent. But there were dramatic tales of survival.
I thought, I've got to get out. It was all I could think of. And being small, I suppose I was lucky I could wriggle. I pushed the seats, I moved some of the metal, but there was still this lady. And I sort of moved her leg. Her and I were talking together. We were actually both suffocating each other.
When I woke up, I was actually outside the coach. We were about 20 feet away. I was covered in blood and saturated. Another guy, one of the walking wounded, his wife was 8 months pregnant. She's okay, but lost the baby.
The casualties were treated at the scene. Those critically injured were airlifted to the Gold Coast. Many more were ferried in a fleet of ambulances to hospitals in Grafton and Lismore. It's believed the driver of the semi-trailer swerved onto the wrong side of the road. He sheared off an entire side of the bus, and police say anyone sitting on the right-hand side had no chance of surviving.
It was basically complete chaos. It was a mangled mess. Bodies, bits of bodies and metal everywhere.
Police went to the offices of the coach company Sunliner in Brisbane, notifying friends and relatives of the tragedy. The company's management was also shocked.
The driver was very experienced. He had been with us many years. The equipment, of course, is only 2 years old and is maintained at the highest of standards. So we're assured that from where we sit, everything was done and everything was correct.
Tonight, police are continuing the grim task of identifying the victims as a nation conscious of its road toll comes to grips with its worst ever accident.
The disaster has prompted renewed calls for stricter controls on heavy vehicles. The New South Wales government has responded immediately with a wide-ranging inquiry into the crash.
Describing the crash as Australia's worst transport tragedy since the Granville rail disaster, officials are asking how such an accident could happen. Horrified at what they saw, police pondered the irony of Operation Long Haul, launched today to crack down on heavy vehicles. A special target for police was the Pacific Highway in northern New South Wales, a stretch of road notorious for bus crashes. Before today, though, the region's road toll was down on last year's by 20%. Of most concern to police, maverick drivers who overload their vehicles, spend too much time behind the wheel, and worst of all, ignore the speed limit.
We see it vital to try and prevent this type of accident that has actually happened this morning. And we really want to make truck drivers aware of their responsibilities on our roadways.
The accident has sparked an outcry for improved safety standards for coaches and semi-trailers. Roger Graham of the Bus and Coaches Association has criticised the trucking industry for refusing to introduce tachographs to record journey details.
The coach company involved in this accident, Sunliner, as a member of our association, has voluntarily fitted tachographs and the system to their vehicles and has carried out that at their own expense. But it's no good unless all heavy vehicles on the road carry out the same system.
There have also been renewed calls for seatbelts to be fitted into coaches, although some transport authorities question the move.
We understand that it would take an enormous amount of restructuring of a coach to be able to fit seatbelts, such that they could be effectively used.
The issue of seatbelts and tachographs will be central to an inquiry into the accident.
I have never seen an accident like it in my life. And to see the number of lives that were lost at one stretch is just appalling.
In Malaysia, Prime Minister Hawke also was shocked.
I simply express my grief to everyone concerned.
The inquest into the tragedy will begin as soon as possible.